Good morning, everyone. My name is Kevin, if you are new, and today we are making 3 Thanksgiving sides and 1 Thanksgiving dessert. I selected the recipes because they are easy to make, they are delicious to eat, and you can make them ahead of time. And all of the recipes will be posted on my website, and I will link the recipes in the description box below. Now, the first recipe is a gratin of leeks. It's tender leeks in a creamy Mornay sauce and topped with crisp, buttery breadcrumbs. It's incredibly delicious. So what I have here is about 3 pounds of leeks, and I'm just going to trim them up. So I want to cut off the dark portion of the leaves and definitely save these for stock. Trim off the roots. And then we simply need to cut the leeks into 1/2-inch pieces. My leeks are already clean, so what I do is cut them lengthwise down the middle, and I'll make another cut here. So I've quartered the leek, and then I just start chopping. I make this gratin every year, both for Thanksgiving and for Christmas. This one leek still had some sand in it, so I'm going to transfer it to a colander and just wash it thoroughly. In fact, I'm going to give all of the leeks one final rinse. Now we can put the leeks in a large skillet. So this was about 3 pounds of leeks total, and we can add just enough water to cover them by about halfway. And most of this water will evaporate during cooking. Let's move over to the stovetop. When the leeks come to a boil, I will lower the heat, cover the skillet, and let the leeks simmer until they become perfectly tender. That will take about 15 minutes. While the leeks are cooking, I'm going to go ahead and start the gratin topping. So I have 3 slices of just regular sandwich bread. I'm going to roughly tear them and drop them into my food processor. So you want to use fresh bread here. And I'm simply going to spin them into breadcrumbs. And there we are, fresh breadcrumbs. And we can set this aside for a moment. Onto the Mornay sauce, which is simply a white sauce with cheese. We need to tip 2 cups or 500 mils of milk into a medium saucepan. And while the milk is heating, I'm going to mix 1 generous tablespoon of cornstarch with just enough cold water to make a smooth slurry. The cornstarch will thicken the sauce. When the milk starts to bubble, I will add the cornstarch mixture and just stir until the milk thickens and becomes velvety smooth. And the milk will thicken in as little as 15 seconds. Off heat, we can stir in about 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt and some grinds of black pepper. I also want to add just a whisper of nutmeg. As I said earlier, Mornay sauce is a cheese sauce, so I am adding 6 ounces or about 170 grams of shredded Swiss cheese. I'm just going to stir this slowly until the cheese melts, which it is doing already. And our leeks are done. All I have to do is drain off the water. I'm going to bake our gratin of leeks in a 2-quart baking dish. So we can add the leeks directly to the dish. Add the glorious Mornay sauce. This smells just wonderful already. And then stir to mix the leeks into the sauce. Now, you could make this gratin up to this point, let it come to room temperature, and then cover it and pop it in the refrigerator. Or you can top it with the breadcrumbs now and bake it off. And I like to dot the breadcrumbs with some butter. This is 2 or 3 tablespoons of butter that I've just cut into small pieces. When you are ready to bake the gratin, preheat the oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit or 170 degrees Celsius and bake the gratin until the Mornay sauce bubbles and the breadcrumbs brown. That will take 20 to 25 minutes. I've decided that I will bake this gratin off tomorrow, and of course I will show you the finished gratin. So I'm going to let this cool to room temperature, then I will cover it and pop it into the refrigerator. This next side dish is very easy to do. I'm making cranberry sauce with red wine and ginger. It is my favorite cranberry sauce of all. It's delicious on roast turkey, roast chicken, roast duck. It's even delicious on a bagel with cream cheese. And the first thing we need is 2 12-ounce bags of fresh cranberries or frozen cranberries. And let's see, each of these bags is 340 grams. And I'm just putting these into a saucepan. Then we need 1 cup or 250 mils of a dry red wine. I'm using Côte d'Aron here. In you go. Then we need 3 tablespoons of honey. We also need a 2-inch knob of ginger sliced lengthwise. My supermarket did not have any ginger this morning, so I bought ginger paste. That's about a teaspoon, maybe slightly more than a teaspoon. A pinch of salt. 1 3/4 cups of dark brown ginger. I don't have dark brown, I'm using light today. Actually, this is a mixture of both dark and light. We will also add some black pepper to this, but first we need to bring this mixture to a boil. I'm going to bring this mixture to a simmer while stirring from time to time until most of the berries pop. That's going to take about 30 minutes. This sauce has been cooking for about 20 minutes. And I can hear the berries popping, and my whole kitchen smells just divine. I love the scent of cranberries with red wine and ginger. You'd really be amazed at what a little red wine can do for cranberries. Okay, most of the berries have popped at this point, so I'm going to cut off the heat. Let this cool for probably 30 minutes, and then we can transfer the mixture to an attractive bowl. Actually, before we let this mixture cool too much, I do want to stir in some black pepper. Sounds like a weird ingredient, but it really works in this sauce. Stir that in. People have asked me about these wooden utensils that I use. They're called spurtles, and I can link them in the description below if you are interested. Okay, we will let this cool, and then we can transfer it to a bowl. My cranberry sauce with the red wine and ginger has cooled to room temperature, so now I can scrape it into an attractive bowl. Again, this smells just incredible. Then we can cover this with cling film. And pop it into the refrigerator. You can make this cranberry sauce 2, 3, probably even 4 days ahead of time. Good morning. I hope you slept well. We are going to make our third side course, which is blender corn and herb soufflé. Or maybe I should say soufflés, because I'm going to make 4 of them in these ramekins. And if you want to make additional soufflés, simply double or triple the recipe. So I have 4 6-ounce ramekins here, and I'm going to grease them with vegetable spray. This soufflé makes an excellent side dish or even a first course. It's delicious for Thanksgiving, Christmas, or really any time. We can set these aside. This is a very easy recipe because, as the title indicates, we are making the soufflé batter in the jar of a blender. And the only thing I'm missing is the herb component. I have some chives in the refrigerator. You can scoop the chives into a little food prep bowl. So we need 3 cups of corn kernels, preferably fresh, but this is November, there is no fresh corn, so I'm using frozen. And I did weigh this out. It is 390 grams. Then we need a generous half cup or a handful of shredded cheddar cheese. A half cup or 118 mils of heavy cream. 3 large eggs. These are some of the eggs that you and I bought together at Kinderhook Farm in the last video. A half teaspoon of salt. Grinds of black pepper. And a pinch, or about a 1/4 teaspoon, of crushed red chili flakes, just for a hint of heat. We need to blend all of these ingredients at high speed until a smooth puree develops. Then we can divide the batter among the 4 prepared ramekins. Then we simply sprinkle the tops with some of the chopped herb. You could use parsley here, or you could use parsley and chives, really any herbs you like. You can bake these little soufflés right away if you wish. They need 25 to 30 minutes in a 400-degree Fahrenheit or 200 Celsius oven. I'm going to cover mine and refrigerate them for a few hours because I'm not ready to bake the soufflés yet. To the refrigerator. And on to the dessert, which, as I mentioned earlier, is my favorite version of sweet potato pie. Now, I cooked the sweet potatoes and made the pie crust last night. So let's go back to last night so I can show you how I made everything. So I have 1.5 pounds of sweet potatoes. That's about 2 medium potatoes. And then I'm going to add just enough water to cover the tubers by half. And I'm going to bring this to a boil on the stovetop until the potatoes are perfectly tender. That's going to take about 50 minutes. I should add that there are many ways to cook sweet potatoes, but this boil steam method seems to produce the creamiest potatoes for a sweet potato pie. For the crust, I'm using 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. I always weigh out my flour. It's 195 grams, and I'm tipping the flour right into my food processor. Then I add 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then I mix the ingredients just briefly. Now I'm adding 4 tablespoons or 57 grams each of cold diced butter and vegetable shortening. Shortening gives pastry dough a special tender quality. I pulse the machine several times just to break up the butter. Then, with the processor running, I add just enough water to create a crumbly dough. Now, we can gather the dough into a ball, flatten it into a disc, and wrap it in cling film. And there, our pastry dough is made. I'm going to pop this into the refrigerator. It really needs 30 minutes to 1 hour, but I'm going to refrigerate my pastry dough overnight. Our potatoes are done. They boil steamed for about 50 minutes. And as you can see, they are perfectly tender. So tender means you can easily pierce the potatoes with a fork. When the sweet potatoes are cool enough to handle, use a towel or a terry cloth like I'm using, and just rub the potato and the skins will come off immediately. I'm going to let these potatoes cool overnight, and then I will see you tomorrow. I need to roll this out into a 12-inch diameter circle. I'm going to do that on my pastry cloth here. Since this dough chilled overnight, it is quite firm now, so I'm going to mash it several times with my rolling pin just to make the dough be a little more cooperative. I love a sweet potato pie at Thanksgiving because, well, when you reach my age, you've eaten so many pumpkin pies at Thanksgiving, you really want a change. Yep, they're good. Now we can transfer the pastry to our pie plate. Now this plate measures 7 inches on the bottom, 9 inches across on the inside, and it's 2 inches deep. I'm going to crimp the edge. Then we can pop this into the freezer while we make the sweet potato filling. And before we make the sweet potato filling, I need to preheat my oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 degrees Celsius. I'm going to make the sweet potato filling right in my food processor. So these are the sweet potatoes that you and I cooked last night. And I'm going to process them just until they become smooth. Then we need to process in 4 tablespoons of room temperature butter, 3 large eggs, I'm going to scrape down the bowl here. Then we need to add a ½ cup or 100 grams of brown sugar, light or dark, as you please, and a ½ cup or 100 grams of regular granulated sugar, 1/3 cup or 80 mils of heavy cream, a tablespoon of bourbon. Bourbon lends a lot of flavor to this sweet potato pie. A teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, and a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, the same amount, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And we're going to process until we have a very smooth mixture. And our filling is made. I'm going to clean the decks here, and then we can fetch the now frozen pie crust. This is not the prettiest fluting job I have ever created on a pie crust, but I don't care. I'm more interested in how the crust tastes and how the filling tastes. And we can pour the filling right into the crust. And then we smooth the top with a spatula. This looks very pretty already. I'm going to pop this into the preheated 375 degree Fahrenheit oven for exactly 10 minutes. Then I will lower the oven temperature to 325 degrees Fahrenheit or 170 degrees Celsius and continue baking until the crust browns and the filling is set. That will take about 1 hour. And here is our absolutely beautiful bourbon sweet potato pie. We're going to let this cool. And in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and bake off the leek gratin and the blender corn soufflés. So let's look at everything we made in this episode. We have our creamy gratin of leeks. We have our blender corn and herb soufflés. We have our cranberry sauce with red wine and ginger. And we have our beautiful bourbon sweet potato pie. Lizette is behind the camera now, and I think we should sample some of these dishes. First, the creamy gratin of leeks. Or maybe I should call it the creamy leek gratin. You like?
Yep.
Oh.
Delicious.
I love well, leeks have, as I said earlier, a mild oniony taste, but it is a taste that is unique to leeks. And also, I love this buttery breadcrumb topping. It's nice and crisp. And I think it's comforting because, well, it's creamy, and also there's nutmeg in the mix. And so incredibly easy to make. And trust me, nobody else is going to bring this to the Thanksgiving party unless you bring it. And of course, we need to sample the blender corn and herb soufflés, which are still quite hot. Now, they do deflate once you bring them out of the oven, but they don't deflate too much. They're still attractive, even after they have sat at room temperature for several minutes. And we need spoons. This is for you, Lizette.
Thank you.
It's like eating corn-scented air. Can you taste a bit of the crushed red pepper?
Yes,
that
I do.
Little bit of heat?
Yep, it's perfect.
Oh, this is really nice. And again, how easy was this to make? Very easy.
Super unique.
Now for the cranberry sauce with red wine and ginger, we each have a clean spoon. We're each going to take a little spoonful. Lizette is nodding her head. Wow, this is really something. This is totally different from any other cranberry sauce.
This is definitely a must-make recipe. I'm going to make this for Thanksgiving.
Yay, Lizette. Now our bourbon sweet potato pie is still somewhere between warm and hot, but we can't wait. We are each going to have a small slice. So we have our slices of bourbon sweet potato pie here. And I bought this French style gourmet whipped cream, Madagascar vanilla. I'm going to see how this works out. Now normally I would make my own whipped cream, but today we are just tasting. Here you go, Lizette. Well, the crust is done on the bottom. This is so different from pumpkin pie. And I do love pumpkin pie, but I love sweet potato pie much, much better. I love the sense of bourbon and vanilla and cinnamon, plus the natural scent of the sweet potato. This is creamy and delicious. And the crust, of course, is perfection because it's homemade crust.
Wonderful. Another must-try recipe.
Another must-try recipe. Well, honestly, with these incredible side dishes and this beautiful dessert, who needs a turkey for Thanksgiving? I will link the printable recipe for all of these dishes in the description box below. And in the next episode, we are going to light a fire and make a full afternoon tea with finger sandwiches and scones and maybe some little cookies. So I hope you will watch. And until then, please treat yourself well. And I will see you in the next episode. I'm going to finish my pie. Bye for now, friends.